Hey, welcome to Books on Books. I'm Books, and the book I'm reading right now is The Pilgrim's Progress by John Bunyan. Crazy thing is, this book was written more than 300 years ago, and the first time I heard about it was maybe even the last time I heard about it. And at the time I was a little kid, and at the time I was absolutely obsessed with knowing the tallest mountain, the tallest building, the deepest valley, the deepest place in the ocean, the longest river. I needed to know the biggest, the best, the tallest, the longest of everything. Um, now that's where I was as a 9-year-old, maybe 10-year-old boy. So I asked my dad, well, what's the biggest book? And he said, well, the Bible is probably the most distributed and popular book. And then after that, the quotations of Mao Zedong, because of the way Mao made sure that his quotations got everywhere. After that, this book, The Pilgrim's Progress. And it's interesting, I don't think I've ever heard it mentioned since then. Um, it's kind of, it has fallen out of our consciousness in Western civilization. And at one time, this book was very much a part of the ethos of Western civilization. And the first thing I find that really stands out to me is that the main character, he comes across a book, and this book hits him with such profound force that he knows he has to take this pilgrimage to find this better place, this better land, ultimately his salvation. And so he sets off on his pilgrimage, and everyone scoffs at him, makes fun of him, and thinks he's foolish. And I think it's interesting because one thing he says is that he quotes the people who criticize him as saying, well, you're following after these old ways, these old ways. They've been replaced by new ways, new things, new thinking. And I can't help but to think about the way things are today. Today, there are activists in our society who are putting forth tremendous effort to change the old ways and make room for new ways. Now, I think it's even human nature that the young generation goes through a phase and sometimes never gets out of it, of thinking of the older generations as being foolish old people that just don't understand the way things are today. But what we learn from the Pilgrim's Progress is the eternal principles don't change. Now, the main character takes off on this journey where he knows deep down in his heart that these eternal principles are the key to his everlasting happiness. And he gets challenged. On this pilgrimage, he gets challenged by one of the earliest challenges. He's trudging along on his path. He's been directed onto the path. He's been told to stay on that path. But then he comes across a character, and this character is attractive. This character looks wealthy. This character carries himself with great dignity, and this character is the worldliness, the wisdom of the world. And he tells our main character that if he wants to be relieved of his burden that he feels, the reason why he is on this pilgrimage for salvation, that he just needs to go down this one path to the side, and there he'll find the headquarters of legality. And this is a fascinating part of the story, because when he gets to legality, he gets absolutely overwhelmed with and buried under rule after rule after rule after rule. So many rules, it's impossible to keep them all. finally, in his desperation to keep up with everything, he cries out for help. He knows he can't do it. And I don't think that's changed. I think that we all find ourselves facing all the rules, all the things that we hear that we should be doing, that we know that we should be doing, and eventually we break under that, and we need help. Woven into the reason why we break is the very fact that we die. It's inevitable. We like to do all that we can to keep it out of our minds, but the reality is we're all going to die. And that's something that cannot be reconciled without a spiritual journey. Now, I strongly suggest that anyone, if you don't have 12 hours or so to dedicate to this book, I suggest you at least get yourself familiar with the story. I really recommend you read it. Why not? It's timeless, and it'll make an impression on you. It may even spur you to some kind of an action. It might even change the way that you see some of the things in your own life. It has for me. And I don't see any kind of comeback of the Pilgrim's Progress. But I do see thousands, maybe tens of thousands of people picking up the book and reading it and internalizing the messages. And the more people who do, the better, as far as I'm concerned, because I know we're on a spiritual journey. This isn't just about my body. This body is dead. It has to be enlivened by spirit. Of that I'm convinced. Anyways, Books on Books, thanks for joining me for a few minutes. Please like and subscribe. Share it. I really appreciate your time and taking a few minutes to listen to some of my thoughts on the Pilgrim's Progress. And if anyone has any thoughts, please, in the comments, let me know. I would love to engage in a conversation with somebody. So again, Books on Books, I'm Books, and we'll be moving on to something else pretty soon. I'll probably still have a few more things to say about this, but again, thank you so much for watching.